Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Shaki Shakko here with another video. And today I'll be talking about what type of Assassin's Creed game I want in next generation. So let's get started. I hope, I wish, I pray that what I want for Assassin's Creed to become true, because we need to change the formula for the Assassin's Creed games. In recent years, it just doesn't honor the old games, and what we currently have, that's you piece of you son of a, I will rip you apart, throw you against to that, and I will give you a piece of my mind, you piece of. Sorry for that. I just don't like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's when it started to make the series even worse. Yeah, I really want Ubisoft to change the formula for the games to make it even better. And I'll tell you what my ideas are. First, what things I don't want it to be. Now, the first things I don't want it to be, not to be a true open world, or at least not to have a really big map. Second, I really want it to be short, not the length of the game. Rather than be 50 hours, let it be between 15, 20, 25. That's enough hours for somebody to play and enjoy his time or her time playing a game that's $60 of price. Trust me, it's enough hours. Thirdly, I don't want any RPG elements. Assassin's Creed is not an RPG. Fourthly, I don't want any loot-based or level up progression system. They don't. They don't fit for. They're not fit for Assassin's Creed, and Ubisoft have not done a great way of balancing loot progression and level up, making it more rewarding when playing the game. You always hit a wall when you're just lower powered and your enemies are overpowered. There's a really big gap between each other, and it just doesn't feel right. And fifth, oh please not to have any dialogue choices. It literally breaks the lore of the world. Not have any of these RPG elements where you can create your own story. It does not fit for the game because it tells a story that is the story of the past that has happened and is set, and you cannot change it. It does not make any sense to have that ability to do dialogue choices or even action choices. So yeah, why I don't want any of these is just to focus on the core elements of the game, polish it even more. So I've talked about what things it should not be. Let's start with the things that it should have and should be. So what should the story be? To me, the story should be something compelling for many players, to the old gamers, the old veteran Assassin's Creed gamers, and to new players as well. And also a story that does not break the lore. Uh, Ubisoft have not managed to keep it consistent, and they try to change a lot of things. I don't want them to change the lore of the universe. Have some things that are concrete and does not change. Please, Ubisoft, do not make the same mistake again. So, the setting for this game, I have no preference. A time period we never were before, in a place we've never been before, and also something that will help the parkour system, where it will complement the parkour system in a great environment. And the female or male protagonist, either one works. I have no preference, but at least a great story for them. And also, we need the modern day story back. We need to have it more, to have more importance to it, or at least a much more better, compelling story. We don't want what they are currently doing. We don't know what's Valhalla's modern day story, but if it's anything better than Odyssey and Origins, we'll see. We'll see. But at least we want the next game after that to be a much more compelling one for the past story, with the past story, I mean, and the present story as well. And also, I do not want to use the Helix this time. I want to use an Animus. Please, an Animus. Now, story is very important, but the other foundation for Assassin's Creed is also the gameplay. Now, when you think about Assassin's Creed, what do you picture in your head? I picture in my head a game where I can be an assassin simulator where I can use stealth and parkour and also combat, and being a great knife, a dagger behind the shadows, an assassin. Assassin's Creed, its own, the core foundation for its gameplay is the parkour and stealth. The combat is a bit iffy through the years, but they should actually work on that as well. I first need to talk about the traversal for this game. The traversal for this game has to be responsive, complex, and has great controls. Through the years, we got some good parkour systems and bad ones, and not really great. In recent years, the Origins and Odyssey and even Valhalla are the worst parkour system ever. They just climb over and that's it. They're not really fun to do those things at all. Unlike in the past, in the Ezio collection, even in the first Assassin's Creed one, where the parkour system has really a great movement system that allows to, outrun people, enemies, and catch up to other people, and reaching to places much faster in a also stylish way. They need to have that, because if we don't have a good traversal system, it's not going to be too engaging to continue with playing the game. If it has a good traversal system, that means we'll play the game and continue and have fun and not get bored while we run around through the world, because it's most likely we're gonna traverse through the world more than just doing stealth and combat and seeing the story. Yeah, and we almost got that with Unity. Unity has a in-depth control system, and a traversal system, parkour system, but it was almost great, where the controls are the problem with this game. It has in-depth. If you're a master, you can make the sweetest moves ever with the parkour system of Unity. But it's not enough responsive. I've noticed that when playing it, and you just don't know what's the basics of the controls as well to master it. They just didn't have enough time, or didn't make more testing and making it more accessible for everyone. I want a parkour system where the controls are more responsive, and it can easily be mastered, the basics, but to do even more stylish stuff and doing other moves, that needs more complex commands to have. That's why I want a parkour system where everything is perfectly aligned. The only game that almost that managed to do that is the Ezio collection, and the Unity was almost a next generation parkour system. Now, when the next generation game of the Assassin's Creed game comes out, we need a really great parkour system. Now, parkour is one of the one of the most important ones. Now we go off to the stealth stuff. Stealth is one of the most important components for an Assassin's Creed game. Without it, it's not going to be an actual Assassin's Creed game. Through the years, they have added new stuff to do in stealth, but they've never actually went and done, took a major leap in advancing the stealth system of any game. The only recent games I know that have reached to those levels are Metal Gear Solid 5 and other also stealth games. But Assassin's Creed can take the next step and just create something completely new for the next generation. I've seen a meme before about Ezio wearing heavy armor and people are just not noticing him, not being suspicious about him. It made me laugh sometimes because I didn't. For some reason, that just went over my head when playing the Ezio collection, because Ezio is really, it stands out in the crowd, and I just wondered why the enemies did not notice him when he's doing social stealth. And that just gave me an idea. They should improve the AI, not UI, the AI for the NPCs, the enemies. They have to make them more complex. You have to make them think like actual people, almost actual people. You can't actually make them think to that extent, but enough to have some complexity when doing stealth. You have to plan your strategy, your moves before you do them, because the enemies are they're smarter. They will predict what you'll do, or they can, have a countermeasure for any for even if something happens, when the enemy comes to them. It really does not make sense for them not to be suspicious of somebody who has a bow and arrow behind his back, who has heavy armor, and all the other people are not even wearing anything remotely similar. So that person should stand out in the crowd. It doesn't make sense to have a social stealth. Even if you stand out in the crowd, the enemy should actually be suspicious about you and go investigate. Who are you? What are you? Because they are on guard and they want to, keep an eye on anything that is potentially a threat to them. So I really want to have the AI to think, and I want the player to always think, always to be aware what he's wearing, how he walks, and how he runs, because the enemy should actually be suspicious of anybody how they climb to walls, run all around, and that. They will be suspicious about you because you move really off-putting. It just doesn't. It just you're more suspicious to them because you're doing not good behavior. No. Unexpected behavior. Suspicious behavior, because you're not doing like the other people. You're standing out, and they will keep an eye on you and try to stop you if you try anything. So I really want the complexity of having the AIs to have more to think and keep their guards at all times, and also making the player to be aware what he's doing, what he's wearing, and all that. Because if the player has to think and be prepared more, that makes it even better to makes it even more fun to play the game, making it not that easy to do the stealth aspect of the game. You have to do it correctly in the right way. You have multiple approaches. You could hide underneath a cart, try to knock out an enemy, and take his clothes and be the person. be in his place and just go undercover, or just use the parkour and go over and go to the area. But every one of those has its own advantages and disadvantages. And if you go underneath a cart and just go in, you might be in open area, not many, you know, cover for you to keep undetected all times. If you go with parkour, you have more an option, but you have to go through the long way. And if you go with the going undercover, you might lose some of your weapons because it will make it stand out even more if you wear your weapons. Your hidden blades will be the only weapons, or some bombs as well. But you have to also act in a correct way, not to give out your blow your cover by running around and not being in your post, because you actually are impersonating another person. I really want that complexity of having options and having advantages and disadvantages of the positives and negatives of every approach. Which one is more beneficial for you? And yeah, I really want the ability also to do the impersonations. We did get that in Unity, but for some reason it's more of a camouflage thing, not like you knock out the guy, then you take off his clothes and you wear them. I really have no idea why they did that. Yeah, it was a good feature for Unity, but they never actually gone and made it even more complex. Went even more in depth with it. And I really want the developers to develop this game and give it more care in evolving the system to the point where it can reach to a point that it is very much fun to play. It has replayability because it has multiple options of how to execute your mission and whatnot. I really want that to have the AIs be more smart. And if you are detected or have killed some people, they have to, and they've noticed that you've killed people. They found dead bodies in the area. They have to actually put their guards even higher, and making even more patrols, call for backup. They have not done that. I've never seen a game that did that before. I really want to have that because it just makes it even more alive. Uh, I've seen Ghost of Tsushima. It's stealth game. It's decent, but doesn't goes with the next step. What it does, if you kill somebody or they found some dead bodies, they will use a horn and call some people, the other guards, and they'll come, the Mongols, and try to find you. And if you just hide through all their search, they'll just go back and do the regular patrols. I don't want that. I want the enemies to change their patrols, be more, to make actions. If a threat is gonna happen, is gonna come to them, they have to be more prepared and make it even harder for you, the player, to make it even harder for you to execute everything much faster in a correct way. When you kill somebody, hide the body. They'll suspect something, but it'll be even longer for them to suspect it. So I really want the AIs to have more complexity, with even making the stakes even higher, making it even harder for the player by making their patrols even harder for you. They'll and also have some not to have regular patrols, just one line they go to. No, I want them to do a dynamic thing, searches and that, making it even harder for the player to just stay in one place. No, they have to keep moving, or just be aware of their surroundings at all times, not be have one safe place. it should not have any safe places in this game when trying to infiltrate a fortress or something. So that is the stealth. I want a more complex stealth with AIs that are very smart, that can only be achieved with the next generation, with the next generation CPUs. I don't think the current generation can achieve that, only in the next generation, because every enemy would memorize some things. Not all of them can actually tell the other person that what they know, the information that they currently have. So everybody has their own brains with their own minds having every information that. So I think it's only going to be more achieved in the next generation than in the current generation. It should not be a cross generation game. It should be a next generation game, in my opinion. I've talked about stealth. Now we go with combat. So, what do I want the combat to be? I want it to have some complexity to it, have some variety, having multiple types of weapons between a sword, a staff, a mace, an axe, a hidden blade, a bow, that sort of thing. But I don't want any loot progression. Let us ourselves to craft the weapon, to upgrade the weapon slowly by finding materials and making it stronger. But I don't want to find another variant of the weapon and pick the other one that has more power. I would allow customization for the weapon, but it does not change the stats. The only way how to change the stats is upgrading the weapon. And also, I want the combat not to be like Odyssey. I don't like the whole enemies having really big health, and it's really hard, not hard, but it's long to just take down just one enemy. It's not that fun and all that. I also want the combat to be a secondary thing rather than being the first thing you do. I don't want it to be an equal option like stealth. I've seen a video by Founded Scarab, how he ranked the combat systems of every Assassin's Creed game, and it's quite interesting. It interested me that the having the combat as a last resort rather than being the first thing you do. First, you thin out the horde with your stealth. Then you use combat as a last resort if everything goes to hell. Please go check out his video, or try to put a link to his video, and also his channel. He does Assassin's Creed things and other video games, or also movies. So go check him out if you want to. I also want some variety of different types of enemies. I don't want an enemy being the same thing, same moves, but a bit stronger. No, I want multiple types of enemies with their own moves. Because if they actually make every enemy, well, more enemy types, it's gonna make it much more interesting and not so boring combat when playing the game, because it will always keep you on your toes. You have to change your tactics, change your tactics and strategy, depending on what type of enemies you're facing against. And I also want the sprint button. I forgot to mention this in traversal. I want the sprint button back, R2 or whichever buttons for the PC and Xbox. Yeah, I want it back. I want to be able to run away from a fight if things go, it's not, I can't handle it. It's too much. So I really want the ability to sprint and go run away. It's not a coward's move. It's a tactical retreat. Okay. So yeah, a sprint button, and another thing I want the fear system. We almost got a fear system in an DLC in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, but they never took it to a next level and made it more complex. It just simplified and that. I really want to have the ability to make people afraid, hang some enemies and makes their comrades be more afraid, how you kill the enemy and other things. I don't know, but to have the ability to fight against NPCs that do think, that do fear, makes it even more interesting when we do actually fight them and manage to kill them and make them run away and all that. I really want the ability in making NPCs more, more alive than ever before. So I've talked about everything that it is in my noggin. I'll go with the summary, then end the video, okay? First, this game should not be an RPG, should not have any dialogue choices, does not have to have a really big map or even the biggest map. A sizable map is enough, does not have to be a big one. And no loot progression system. No. Please. And also the length should be between 20, 35, or 30, or even 15. If it's quality, the game is quality, then it justifies the price. It does not have to be 50 hours just to justify the price, okay? Next, the story. We need a new compelling story for the modern day, and also the main story is the past, but also a modern day as well. And no lore breaking, please. And use the animus this time. Animus. Next, gameplay. Traversal, make it good. This time with good controls and responsive controls, please. Stealth, make the next generation, make the biggest leap, create something completely new that the market does not yet have. A fear system, please. Combat should be just a last resort. That's how it works with Assassin's Creed. Let stealth be the first priority, first thing we do. Yeah. I think that's everything I've talked about. I thank you very much for watching the whole video. It means a lot to me. And please comment down below on my ideas, if they're good or not, or you want to add some things. And also comment on the quality of the video with the commentary. Yeah. Thank you. Have a good day. Have a good night. Bye.